Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Muy buenos días, tardes o noches, dependiendo de a qué hora estén viendo este video. Mi nombre es Miguel Ángeles, esto es Formación Escopeta y pues seguramente ya vieron alguna de las entrevistas que hicimos con algunos de los nominados al fan del año en la NFL. Ya probablemente hayan visto la de Dolph Freaky o la de Ramator y pues logramos conseguir otra entrevista. Seguimos platicando con algunos de los nominados al fan del año y pues la verdad me da muchísimo gusto presentarles a Susan. Susan, hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's amazing to have you. It's such an honor. Susan, you're the Arizona Cardinals fan of the year. Is that right?
That is correct. I'm so excited and honored to represent our team this year.
I mean, we already talked with Dolph Freaky and Ramator, and basically this question is always the same. Like, how does it feel to be recognized by your team as the fan of the year?
It feels amazing. It was quite shocking to me. I actually had thought that it was a friend of mine that was going to get awarded the fan of the year. And I had no idea that I had been nominated. And so we were at the Hard Knocks screening for the Arizona Cardinals. Some season ticket holders were invited to come and see their screening of Hard Knocks on the big screen. And they made the announcement, and I was totally surprised. And then I felt a big responsibility to represent our team and our community to the best that we can. But it's just such a huge honor of the thousands of nominees that have happened to be able to be the one that was selected.
I know. And well, not only that, you are also right now in a voting process in order to become the NFL's fan of the year. That's going to be during the NFL honors. So you are under consideration, let's call it like that, to be the entire league's fan of the year. So have
Yeah.
you thought about that?
I almost try not to think about that because it's such a big dream. And I feel like if it's going to happen, it's going to come true. It's going to be a dream come true. But what I can say is that the Cardinals and the Red Sea community have been so incredible that they have been putting the word out. They've been voting hundreds of times a day. And so I know that my community has been supporting me in such an incredible way that I think it could happen. So you never know. You'll have to stay tuned.
We will have to stay tuned, definitely. But that situation alone, the entire community voting for you and getting together to spend time on the computer, on their phones, voting for you, like means something, right? It's very important, I believe.
Yes, it's important. I believe in getting nominated to be the ultimate fan of the year because they want to see who has that kind of presence out in the NFL community. But I think, more importantly, it's just very humbling to know that people would go out of their way to do that for you on a day-to-day basis and take time to do that, to spend their time to do that and to recognize you. I told my girlfriend when I got nominated that it's been almost overwhelming with the amount of nice things that have been said about me and how I support our team and how I go out and represent our team. But it's just something that I love to do. So now to have all that goodness come back to me it's just so amazing.
Yes, because right now they are supporting you.
Yeah,
So it's going the other way around. I love that.
totally.
It's amazing. And well, obviously, we need to go back a little bit and start with how you became a Cardinals fan, because I know that you were born in Canada.
Yes, that's right. So I was born in Canada, but I moved to the United States about 20 years ago. Initially moved to Houston, Texas, but I was in school in Texas and then ended up in Arizona for work. And that's
Okay.
about 2006 is when I first came here and fell in love immediately. The Cardinals were in their championship run in 2007 and 2008, and the entire city was all behind the Cardinals. So every weekend, everybody was talking about the Cardinals. So I absolutely fell in love with the team. I'd been going to the games for years. I finally decided to buy season tickets. So I've had season tickets now for 8 years. And then that translated into going on the road and meeting other female football fans, which to me was so exciting because there's a lot of guys that love football, but to go out and find that there are women just like me that love the game just as much as the guys do, we really started building a community that way. And whether it's my team or the other teams, it's a whole football community that I just fell in love with. So yeah, so I've been traveling and going to the games ever since.
Wow. So just a little curiosity here. So when you were in Texas, you were not like really into football, or the teams
No,
didn't caught your attention?
yeah, interesting fact, because our star player JJ Watt's from Houston, Texas, and so I have
Hmm.
a lot of affection for everything that he's done because that is my town where I went to school. I went to the University of Houston and I went to postgraduate school there. But I was so busy with school, I wasn't really focused on football at the time. So it wasn't until I moved to Arizona that I had that
Okay.
kind of time to get involved with football.
Oh, that makes sense now. And well, so you became a Cardinals fan. You already mentioned you already met a lot of people, female fans. We always wonder, because that's a topic of conversation around the NFL in the US, and especially here in Mexico, how difficult it is for girls to become NFL fans, because most of the times there are a lot of people who will be like, "Oh, you don't really like the game, you
Right,
don't understand it,"
right,
and we hear that a lot. And sometimes we say, when I as a guy say I like the NFL, nobody questions that. It's like,
right.
okay, yeah, perfect, and I may know nothing about the league, but when a girl says I like the NFL, everybody starts making questions.
Right. Yeah, they
So,
don't believe that you actually understand the game. But I think that's what happens with repetition is as you get to watch the game, you start to understand more and more. And then you
mhm.
hear your friends talk about, the different plays being called and you hear about the penalties being called and then you start to understand it a lot more. And so I think it is surprising when I meet new people and I tell them that I'm an NFL fan, they think I'm a fair weather fan and I start talking about the draft and how our O line is out and how people are Pro Bowl safeties and they get really astonished that I know so much about football, but it comes with years and years of watching the game. So I think the one thing I would say is to the female fans is that there's a lot of other female fans out there. So please don't feel shy about going to the game or saying you don't know the game. The game experience is so much fun. It's socializing, it's getting together with friends and family, it's cooking, it's hanging out and having cocktails with your friends. It's a lot of fun. So, male or female, it's a great experience.
And what you're mentioning is basically what I experienced as a fan. Again, when I started, I didn't know anything about the football game. But as you say, with repetition, you start listening to other people like talk about that, and you say, "Oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get it why they are throwing the flag and all of that." So basically, it proves that it's the same for boys and girls. We get in the same way. We start with interest, and then we start learning. So I love that. And actually, well, I was telling you that there are a lot of football fans here in Mexico.
Right.
Actually, there are a lot of girls involved in content creation. There's actually an entire YouTube channel made out of girls who talk about football.
Oh, that's great. I'll have to follow them. Yeah. I think organically, some of the fans have had channels come out of it or have more of a online presence come out of it. Definitely, that's what happened with me is that people started seeing me going to the games and talking about the games, and it started to build an online presence. And with that, you start to connect with other fans, but it also brings a lot of responsibility, I found, because um, people can get very negative and you have to be able to filter out a lot of the social media
Mhm.
drama that comes along with it.
Absolutely, and that's so true. And well, you mentioned about your presence on social media, but I would like to talk about your presence on your community,
Yeah,
because what the NFL is like focusing on right now with the fans of the year is the fact that you are doing things for your community, and that's something that the NFL is very into, right? The,
absolutely.
the players, the coaches, the teams, and also the fans. So, can you please tell us a little bit more about what you do with your community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a background in healthcare. And one of the things, if you're a doctor, anybody in the healthcare field, you know that access to food and food insecurity is a big problem. We saw that during the pandemic. And so that's always been a passion. That's something that's been really near and dear to my heart. And so what I do is I volunteer. And it started out just doing things myself in the community. So going to St. Mary's Food Bank and packing food boxes. Those are going out to low economic individuals that need help with food on a weekly basis. But I really fell in love with going and working in the food kitchen at St. Vincent de Paul. So I actually go in every few weeks on a Friday morning into St. Vincent de Paul, and I'm in there cutting vegetables and getting breakfast ready. They serve over 4,000 people every week that have needs for food, maybe veterans, maybe ex-military that are there, might just be families that have fallen on hard times. But it's just a little something that I can do to give back to my community. I didn't post about it a lot in the past, but I started posting about it this year when our Arizona Cardinals were posting about work that they were doing in the community. And now I've influenced other people to start to go out and do volunteering in the community as well. I say that the power of one person can really have a positive impact or a ripple effect to other people. And so that was my mission this year, is just to get one other person to do a good deed or volunteer or do some work in the community. And I think that is actually happening due to what's been happening and how it's been spotlighted this year.
That's amazing. And what you're mentioning about posting about it and like letting other people know what you do, it's really what the NFL is been doing for like a long time. And you mentioned JJ Watt.
Yes.
Everybody knows what JJ Watt does and all the things he did with the hurricane in Houston. And that moved a lot of other people to do something.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate proof that you need that one person telling the others we can do this is enough to start moving things, right?
Absolutely. And you don't have to be a JJ Watt, right? You can do one thing for one person and that could really impact or change their lives. I think that's what people get thinking, that they have to start a whole charity or a foundation or raise tens of thousands of dollars to make an impact. And that's not the case. It's as simple as a couple of hours if you can do something manual, or going in and helping sort papers. Like there's lots of things that you can do just as one person that can really make an impact in your community.
Awesome. And well, you also mentioned that you have this like experience in health. So that also is very important because you can provide something like extra, another insight of what is needed to your community. So that's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, over the last few years, was really, shone a light on how access to food and the rising costs of food, I mean, that can really change a person's lifespan and their ability to have a really great quality of life. And so that's been my passion. And so that's what I promote through my social media.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And that's also part of, again, what we believe is part of the NFL right now. I love that. For example, my girlfriend, she's starting to get the idea of the NFL, like what the NFL is about. She was not a fan until a couple of years now. And she told me that she has noticed that everybody's doing something. Like,
Yes.
and that's awesome when somebody tells you, like, oh, the NFL is basically like a lot of people playing football and doing good things for the community. Great. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. They give back a lot to their community. I think we saw that last week when Damar Hamlin got injured. And then all of a sudden it became not just about the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, it became the entire football community and the fans. Everybody across the entire country, and I would say world, had their eyes on this. And now we're thinking about what ways that we can donate to his charity to help him with his foundation. And that really moved me to tears. I was really just so proud of everybody that pitched in. I shared his community page out to the people in our community to make sure they knew how to donate. And I think that's it. We're part of football as a fan and as we watch the NFL, and we are all in part of this one big community.
And yeah, exactly. And actually, that was the ultimate proof that that saying of football is family
Yes.
is completely true. Because last week, as you said, everybody noticed that it was not like one league of 32 teams. It was just one big family of football fans and football people coming together for one of their own. And that
Exactly.
was amazing.
Exactly. And that's, I think, important when you think about, I've talked to a lot of people. They say that I want to be the fan of the year next year. What can I do? And I said, well, one of the things, you got to get involved with your community if you want to do this, but you also have to keep that positive mindset, right? Because they're going to look for people that are positive role models in the community, just like you see across all the wonderful other fans that have been nominated. We've all done a different variety of things to get here, but I think that the true message is you've got to do something.
That's very important because, again, now that we're talking about the fans of the year, most people believe that is because they like always go to the games and they always like kind of dress up to go to the
Right.
stadium. But it's not just that. It's like doing something extra for your community and having a positive presence. So that's really important. And thank you for pointing that out to all the people listening to this. We love that.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little dressed up, but I don't paint my face and I don't have costumes unless it's like Halloween or Christmas. But yeah, I'm just the regular me every Sunday. And there's a lot of other people just like me that got nominated that don't have costumes and don't have a online personality or alter ego or other costume.
Yeah, I mean, that's also part of the game, but it's not like the main reason why you are being chosen as the fan of the
Right.
year. That's awesome. And well, now moving to actually you being a fan of the Arizona Cardinals, I gotta ask, who's your favorite player all time from the Cardinals?
Oh, it would be this guy right here.
Okay.
That's Larry Fitzgerald. I'm sure your fans already know that. Yeah, he is a future Hall of Famer, obviously record-setting wide receiver, and he was part of the reason that I became a Cardinals fan, watching him in the playoffs in 2015 against the Green Bay Packers, and that playoff run that we had was the most fun I've ever had at a football game. Completely lost my voice. And he is a prime example of what you do to get your community involved. He has a very big presence in Arizona and the Arizona community, and just a leader on and off the field. He's a remarkable human being.
Awesome. And that's another very important thing about Larry Fitzgerald. We all know him because he's very important. As you said, he's a future Hall of Famer.
Mhm.
And I always tell people that he's the owner of my favorite stat of all time.
What is
The,
that?
the fact that he has, in his career, he had more tackles than dropped passes.
Yeah, for a wide receiver, that is so crazy.
It blows my mind every time I tell it. Like, how does a wide receiver end up with more tackles than
Yeah.
dropped passes? Like, he was the ultimate pro in my
Yes.
view. He was an amazing receiver, and he was also very like calm and shy, very unlike the wide receivers in the NFL who are more outgoing and more outspoken. He was always
Right.
like the serious guy, and I believe that that's one of the reasons why we don't talk more about Larry Fitzgerald being like one of the best receivers in the game, because he was not always shouting his name or moving his hands around. He was always calm. He was always doing his things without making a lot of noise. And that really like diminished his presence online and on the TV. But he's amazing. He's an amazing receiver. And as you said, he's an amazing person as well.
Yeah, he let his work speak for itself. So he didn't have a big ego. And
Mhm.
that really transmitted out into, what he's doing now in the Arizona community. He's part of the Arizona Super Bowl that's happening now here. He's on that team that's putting together the committee that's running the Arizona Super Bowl committee, that they've got everything going on. So and I think that's another reason why he didn't want a big fanfare when he retired. We didn't get that moment to say goodbye to him as fans.
Mhm.
Come on the field and we have the big presentation, but I know one day his jersey number is going to be up there in the Ring of Honor, and we're going to be celebrating him in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, and that's also true. He never like really made like a news conference or something big to say goodbye. He was just like, okay, let's see what happens, and someday and one day he just stopped going to the office. And I was like, what happened? Like,
I think he's playing golf now.
yeah, like And they were like, well, where's Fitz? Oh, he's not coming anymore. Like,
Yeah.
like something like that happened. And that's so on brand with Larry
Yeah.
Fitzgerald.
Very much. So I was happy to see him on the Monday Night Football broadcast now. So we get to see him a little bit. So that's always great.
That's very good. And well, not from the current players, the current roster, who's your favorite player or your three favorite players?
Yeah, great question. I would say right now, Buda Baker, because he is just a fearless safety. You see him flying across the field to make tackles. And he obviously is a Pro Bowler again this year. So he had a remarkable impact. And I think one of the things that we saw from him this year is he never gave up. We've had a challenging year and trying to win games, and he has just played his heart out. So he's by far one of my favorite players this year because he's so dynamic. DeAndre Hopkins, right? Talk about wide receivers. Another amazing guy that you just get the ball in the area. He's got a tremendous hand size and wingspan, and he can catch a ball anywhere, anyways. He's also incredible. And then, of course, JJ Watt. I mean, having the impact that he had, he's only been in Arizona for 2 years, but he actually invited fans to come have a beer with him one afternoon at a pub and sat down and with local fans and just chatted. Every game he's out there pre-game, he's throwing the ball out to fans, and he's really rallied the community and gotten in touch with the fan base. And we love that. Anytime we can engage with any of the players, it's just such a wonderful moment. So we really respect him for that.
And speaking about another guy who made the announcement like out of the blue,
Yeah.
he posted a picture of him with his son and like, oh, it's his first game and it's my last game, by the way. Like what?
Yeah, we were all shocked and surprised. I wondered if maybe he was concerned about health because he had a heart scare earlier this year, and we've seen, people being concerned about their health lately. But I think he is going out on a high note. He's had 12 years with a fantastic career. And he's, again, he's over 10 sacks this season, just remarkable. And I think that's the way he wants to be remembered. And so, yeah, I'm going to the game in San Francisco tomorrow to watch his last game and bring my I've got a big giant JJ Watt head staring at me on the other side of the office. So bring that to the game and get to say goodbye. But again, we'll see him in the Hall of Fame. He had an incredible career.
Without a question, like JJ Watt is a Hall of Famer. Like he has it written on his face, like Hall of Famer all around. And you're mentioning something very important, the fact that he's leaving on a high note after a couple of like off years in Houston because of injuries.
Yeah.
He was really good at the beginning, then injuries started to pile on for him. And now in Arizona, he's back to where he was, like a good player, a good guy on the field. So we love that he's going out on his terms, not on an injury.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, you mentioned that you're going to San Francisco to the game, and also I was reading that you really go to the away games for the Cardinals like very often, right?
Yes, we go. It started off with one away game, back in the early days. And that's a really different experience when you're at an away game, because the first game I went to was in Seattle, and Seattle is a very noisy, loud stadium, very, loud 12s out there. And when we would score a touchdown, it would be silent. And I had never experienced that before because there's 100 Cardinals fans in there. So going to away games are really cool. Especially when you can win against the Seahawks or other teams in their stadium. So yeah, I go to at least one game a year, sometimes 2 or 3. If internationally, like I said, I unfortunately didn't get to the Mexico City game this year, but I went to London in 2017 to go watch them play. And the UK fans are just wonderful. They're really into the NFL as well. And so that was a really unique experience. But it's my 2 favorite things is to travel and to go to football games. So it's a great combination.
If you travel to watch a football game, that's even better, right?
Right. Yes, you add that into the script. It's a bonus.
Absolutely. And well, out of the stadiums that you have visited, which one is your favorite? I mean, not taking
Yeah,
the Cardinals
besides
yeah,
State Farm
besides,
Stadium, obviously, that's hosting the Super Bowl this year. We've got a pretty fun stadium. I would say that we were really blown away by the Raiders' new stadium, the Las Vegas Raiders stadium. They did a really good job. It was top notch. The entertainment they had there was like unbelievable. Like you get a show within a show because they had Nelly at halftime. They had like Mariah Carey's backup band singing. Like it was Carlos Santana opened up and sang the national anthem. So we had stars upon stars in Vegas there. And yeah, the food was great. The crowd was good. It was Raiders fans, but they were good. And we had a really fun game. But it's a beautiful stadium and a lot of fun. And they're going to have a lot of fans going to games in Vegas.
I love that little comment, like Raiders fans are Raiders fans, because
they do have a reputation.
They do. Actually, maybe you saw that video of the woman screaming to the Patriots fan, and
Yes.
he ended up in Robert Kraft's box, like, because people can get a little bit rowdy in Raiders games. We know that.
Yeah, there's always a few outliers that get rowdy in any game, and maybe have had a little bit too much to drink. But yeah, that gentleman kept his cool, and he got rewarded for it big time. So kudos to him.
Yeah, good for him. Like, and but like you were there. You know that people can get a little bit rowdy with the Raiders games. So well. Sadly for you, you didn't end up with an amazing experience like this guy, but also good. You didn't have
that
to.
Was the game that Kyler Murray won in the last 2 minutes by running all over the field. So that was my win. So it was a great week.
So you say, okay, that's good enough for me. And well, we know that it has been an off year for the Cardinals. Like expectations were not met. And one question that most of us have, and I don't know how you feel as fans in Arizona about Cliff Kingsbury. Do you think that he's coming back? That the team is moving on from him? I don't know. What's the feeling for Cardinals fans?
I think the fans would like to see us move on from Cliff, and I'm going to share my opinion, and it may not be popular, but I think that Michael Bidwill is going to give him one more year. I think he invested in Steve Keim and he invested in Cliff Kingsbury, and I don't believe he's willing to take the losses over both of those contracts. I think we'll see a position switch at general manager, but I think there's a possibility that we might have one more year of Cliff Kingsbury. And I know that the fans would not be happy about that. I think most of them want to see a complete rebuild next year, hire a brand new coach, bring in somebody like Sean Payton to come and take over. That's really an offensive genius. And I'd be fine with that too. I just don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm just trying to be realistic. I really don't think that I think they're going to give him one more year. And we're going to rebuild and retool and then see what happens. But we'll know more on Monday.
Well, we will know. We will know. And well, hopefully for you, this was not like the best year football wise, but it will end up being a really good year for you because hopefully you will win the NFL Fan of the Year, right?
It's always a good year when there's football involved. My very close friend always says that it's not about the wins and the losses. It's if you're only going to football for the wins and losses, then you're doing it wrong. So I always have fun. You know, we don't always win, but I always have fun every week. I get to see my friends every week. We have an amazing time. We get to go and travel to go have games. So yes, it's unfortunate that we'll be not in the playoffs this year. But as they love to say, there's always next year.
Absolutely. And well, as part of the help to get you to the Fan of the Year, we will post the link on this description video.
Oh, wonderful.
So they can go straight right there and vote for you. And hopefully you will win. And if you win, hopefully you can come back to the channel to talk a little bit more about the Cardinals and about football, right?
I would love to, yes. And thank you for anybody that takes a minute to vote in advance. I appreciate that so much.
Hopefully a lot of people will get convinced after listening to this conversation and say, oh, I will vote for her because she's cool and she's doing cool things and she's having fun at football
Yeah,
games, which is the most important thing.
absolutely.
Well, Susan, it has been such an honor to talk to you. It has been amazing, and we want to thank you for taking this time to come and talk with us here at Formación Escopeta.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to stay in touch. We'll see you again soon.
Sure, we will, and we will stay in touch. And I'm just going to say goodbye to the people in Spanish because that's how we open and close the videos.
Okay.
Stay there for a minute, please.
Yep.
Bueno, pues a todo mundo, muchas gracias por ver este video, muchas gracias por esta entrevista con Susan. Ya les dije, acá está en la descripción el link para que puedan votar por ella, para que sea la fan del año de la NFL. Y pues, nos vemos en próximos videos. Ya saben que siempre se agradece el like y la suscripción. Nos vemos en la próxima. Goodbye, Susan.
Bye.
Bye.